Here we are in the Traxxion Dynamics CNC Machine Center. This is the high-tech side of our operation where we manufacture all the pieces and components that go into our famous high-performance cartridges, and fork components and shock components. Raw materials brought in via truck to our stock area. Stock saw here to cut it and chop it to the size that we need for each part. It's brought on carts and we roll it out throughout the shop. Some of it's heavy, some of it's quite lightweight. We work primarily with aluminum and stainless steel parts in all our components. We use top grade aircraft quality materials in everything we construct. We have several CNC lathes. We run all Haas machinery here. We think it's extremely high quality, and we've had great success making really high quality parts with it. CNC lathe, you know, you picture more of a conventional lathe, something like you might see here. This is a traditional manual lathe that you've probably seen lots of craftsmen and tradesmen work with over the years. A CNC lathe is a computer controlled version of that same machine. So this machine's encased in a large housing, and the tools are attached onto a turret. The turret has many tools it can select. You'll be able to see we have all kinds of end mills, drill bits, the tools. Some of them are motorized and live driven, which is again a very high-tech sophisticated feature of this lathe. So we can actually bring raw material into the machine. These tools process it. A second spindle will come across the machine and attach to the part. The part will be cut loose, carried to the other side of the machine, and then backwards facing tools will finish the part, and the part will come over and it'll drop on a ramp. Chute opens and finished parts drop into this hopper here, and then we have our finished product landed there. The machine actually takes its own waste out and dumps it in a trash can for us, and with a secondary machine attached to it called a bar feeder, we're able to actually feed the raw stock continuously into the machine. And a machine of this configuration can run automated by itself for days on end. It's really quite sophisticated. On the lathe we produce the whole variety of parts, and they're manufactured and cut and parted to length, and then in multiple operations sometimes we arrive at a finished product. In the shop here we're able to make, as you can see, all kinds of shapes and sizes of pieces and parts from billet. These happen to be some parts for different custom motorcycles for manufacturers we work for. I'll show you, get a chance to see a lathe work once here. We're going to load up a rod that goes into our AK-20 cartridges here, and we're going to be processing the second end on them. Frank here's got a blank, and you'll see one end is completely finished. Why don't you load it up, Frank, and show them, let it run. We put the raw material in, the machine clamps on the material. The computer's so sophisticated that if we hit a green button, this machine takes off, it'll run the part, it cuts off the excess stock it doesn't need, the tools will come and cut the appropriate shape, and then the tool will come up and change again, and it'll come back and thread the part. And it'll do this repeatably and accurately, thousands and thousands of times, with only minor control from operators monitoring and checking QC constantly. Some manufacturing operations will QC certain percentages of their parts. But here at our company, we QC every single part as it comes off the machine, because in the world of motorcycle suspension, 99% good parts isn't good enough. We need 100% totally correct and accurate parts all the time. So this part will probably be nearly done. Look in the machine here. You'll see the part that did go in as a piece of blank metal now is finished. Let me blow the coolant off that real quick. See the finished threads there? And in this case we only have a simple check on this part. We're using the actual part that mates to it from the factory, which is a nut. We'll check the threads to make sure the machine has threaded the part properly. And sometimes when the tolerances are extremely tight, we'll use specific gauges for this. And then it's just a question of unchucking from the part and cleaning it off, and we have a finished part ready to be used in a kit. And it's that simple. So leaving the area where the lathes are, we're going to come over and check out our CNC Mills. Again, the modern version of a traditional, what many people call a Bridgeport, has been converted into a computerized controlled machine that again can make parts repeatably and repeatably with only very little human interaction. So mills are good for making complex shapes out of blocks, out of raw billet. So we might load in a big, 10-pound chunk of raw aluminum like this, and sometime later we'll have an extremely polished and finished looking part coming out of the machine that again is repeatable and accurate to whatever the customer's design or desire is, or in this case, if it's our design, it meets our specifications. Tools are loaded onto the machine, and again it can select and change tools. I'll show you, grab a tool real quick. The machine can grab and select tools as it so needs. It's all written in the computer program, and then it'll bring the tool down and do whatever cutting and chopping and drilling and threading that it needs to do to give us the part that we're after. These mills are capable of moving in multiple axes at once, and that allows us to make more sophisticated parts. Show you down here on this machine. We have this machine is set up to work in up to 5 axes at once. This is the most sophisticated piece of machinery we have in our shop. We're able to make extremely complex shapes with extremely complex contours. You can get a shot of this. This is actually unrelated to motorcycles. This is a prototype we're doing of a vintage saxophone mouthpiece for a famous saxophonist named David Sanborn. We're involved in a project with him to recreate a very historic mouthpiece that he used for decades. And using the technology we have available to us here, we're able to make some try and pull off some pretty historic recreations of things, as well as doing the normal modern high-tech suspension work we do. The code that runs, can you show the program, Chris? The code that runs, that tells the machine what to do, it's programmed in a piece of software and then brought in and loaded into the machine. All of these are commands that tell the machine where to go and what to do. This thing has the same thing. Will hold up to 24 tools at once. It can load, cut, chop, come down and give us finished, complete, high-tech parts every time. And this is what allows us to bring our products to you all over the world. So what's the net result of all this? Well, with our facilities, our staff, and our machinery, we're able to produce the world's finest aftermarket motorcycle suspension upgrades, like the AK-20 action cartridge system. So we appreciate you stopping by to take a tour of our facility, and look forward to doing business with you in the future.